Welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's leading podcast for injectors and aesthetic businesses. I'm Dr. Jake Sloane, an aesthetic doctor with over 16 years experience in facial aesthetics.
And I'm David Segal, an entrepreneur and business mentor with over 20 years of experience in our industry. Our podcasts are aimed at industry professionals, and any information or advice given is general in nature. You should consult with a healthcare provider before undergoing any treatment.
You can also subscribe to us on Patreon for on-demand content for injectable and business education.
Welcome to Chapter 8 of What is Trending in Aesthetics. It seems to be a bit of a crowd pleaser, this topic.
Yeah, I quite like these ones because we just shoot from the hip about what we've seen on Instagram and TikTok. And I think people like the fact that these ones are maybe a little less technical, maybe just a little bit more opinion-based. And we'll delve into what I guess others' opinions are about what's been trending. And But if you haven't listened to these ones, we sort of try and look at what's been going on in the world of aesthetics on social media, through our Patreon group. What are people kind of focusing on? But obviously we're in the start of the new year as well. So a lot of people sort of really do double down on what is trending and what should they change or what should they focus on.
Trending. We could also call what's trending. What's clickbaiting? What's salacious?
Yes. Well, and that's something we're definitely going to be getting into as to, is that right? Is that wrong to be doing that on your social media? Anyways, what's been going on in your personal life before we get into this podcast? So before we get into this podcast, what's going on in your personal life, business life?
Well, it's still early January, so not huge amounts. I'm going to Melbourne tomorrow for some PRP treatment, not for anything aesthetic for a change. I'm going to get some PRP treatment in my spine and my ankle. So I've got some pre-existing injuries there from various sporting endeavors and stupid things that men do when they're younger. So it'd be interesting to see how that all works, because I think that it's a slightly different approach when they're doing PRP for sort of therapeutic injury type sort of stuff. So he's actually a sports doctor down in Melbourne. So I'm flying down there, going to catch up with our friend of the podcast, Dr. Izzy Silla, while we're down there. I think she has something to do with this clinic as well. I might get some peptides done at the same time. So interesting. And I just got asked yesterday to present on business for the CNA, the Cosmetic Nurses Association. So they are, I guess, a self-regulating body that takes care of all the aesthetic nurses here in Australia. So I'll be presenting some stuff on business, still yet to be determined. So we've got a couple of our patrons who are part of that group. So Kelly Beasy up in Queensland, Hayley from Loom Clinic over in Perth, and actually I think Mike Clegg is
correct. He's on their board. And Beverly Noop is their president.
Yeah. So all familiar faces. So that'll be fun. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but to be determined.
Something businessy.
Something businessy. And what's happening with you? You got a dog.
Yeah, we got a new little puppy called River. My children chose the name River, which I don't know how they came up with, but I quite like the name River. And we're just settling him in, training him. He's pretty good actually. So we're just crate training and getting him to pee outside, poo outside, all the rest of it.
We only just got you to do that.
I know. I've just got out of nappies and now we've got another one. But no, it's good fun. The kids are obviously loving it, and he's just super cute. So yeah,
what sort of dog is he?
He's a golden retriever.
Right.
So yeah,
right. I've
he's going to get big. Is and hairy,
big poos and lots of hair.
Correct.
Again, like you.
Yeah, exactly. Like father, like son.
Yeah, I've heard Labradors golden retrievers take a long time to mature. So you're going to have an extended puppy period.
Adolescent for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And I also had some really good news this morning. I'll be doing a masterclass with our friend from the podcast, Nicola Lowry, in Los Angeles. So that'll be happening mid-February. I don't have an exact date yet, but we'll be doing that with Allergan, and it will be on consultation technique and obviously a little bit about product as well. So
excellent.
More on that when I know more news.
Excellent.
Yeah. So let's get into this podcast. Something I wanted to ask you to kick things off. New Year, 2025. A lot of businesses sort of scratch their heads and go, "Whoa, what should we do this year?" And one of the common things that comes up, I know it's not like a trend that we've seen on social media, but it's been certainly trending in our WhatsApp groups on Patreon, is, do I change my prices? Do I restructure things? Do I look at my business and sort of change things? But the big one is pricing.
Yeah.
So can you give people some points and sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've seen those conversations as well in our WhatsApp groups around pricing. So it's a good question. And I think that it needs to be prefaced with, well, all of these decisions should be done based on fact-finding and data rather than just sort of
knee-jerk reaction.
Just licking your finger and putting it in the wind and sort of working out whether you do it or whether you don't. So The first question that I would ask is, what's your gross margin? So in our Patreon content, so for all of you that are part of our community, you probably would have seen this in a video. If you haven't, you should go and watch it because I explained to you how to work out your gross margin. So if your gross margin is not where it should be, so from all the experience that I've had over the years, and especially in the last couple of years with talking to people around the world in the last, I guess, 12 to 18 months, if your gross margin is south of 60%, that is a major problem.
Speak to me like I'm a 10-year-old. Gross margin. It's the difference between your retail price and your costs.
Yeah. So if you buy your Botox for X and you sell it for Y, what is the margin on that?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at your numbers in business, you've got two broad categories of expenses. So the first one is your variable costs or your cost of goods sold. So they're all the things that you physically need to acquire to perform a treatment on a patient. So for example, if you're doing a filler treatment on somebody, you obviously need the filler, you need your needles, you need your cannulas, your gauze, your dressing packs, your claw hex, all the things that you need to do that treatment.
Yeah.
And so that's your variable cost or your cost of goods sold to perform that actual treatment. So that's what you need to work out. The other category is your fixed expenses. So they're the things that don't really change on a day-to-day basis, like your rent, for example. Your rent doesn't change whether you treat one patient or 10 patients in a day. It's fixed. So if you go back and watch that video, I'll explain to you exactly how to work that out. So and this is why it's important to be looking at your financials on a monthly basis, so you start to see a trend.
Yeah.
So if your gross margin's going backwards, which everyone's would have been unless they find a way to increase their profit. So the only way you can do that is by increasing your prices, or B, finding ways to save money on all the materials that you need to perform the treatment. So that's why it's important every month to sit down, know how to work out these numbers and look at where your gross profit margin is trending.
Yeah.
And so 60% is like the emergency red button number. If it falls below 60, that's a major problem. Well-performing businesses, anywhere from sort of 65 to 70. The best performing number that I've seen, 70, 72, 73. I think I've seen one at 74. That's exceptional. So you should be aiming for probably 65 to 70%. So the first hurdle that you want to sort of leap over in terms of working out whether you want to change your prices is, where's your gross margin? Is it slipping backwards? And because we've lived in the inflation world for the last few years, most people's margins have been going backwards unless they've either increased their prices or found a better way or a more cost-effective way to get all those goods into their clinic. So know your numbers, first of all. What's your competition doing? So knowing what the people around you, working out what like for like providers are charging for the same treatment. And if you're going to increase your prices, how are you going to justify that?
Yeah.
You can't just all of a sudden walk in one day and increase your prices and expect people not to sort of ask questions.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's why it's important to do it sort of on a regular basis. I'll be talking to clients and we've worked out their gross margin is at danger level and we need to increase it. But it's very difficult to say do a massive change in one hit.
Correct.
Like if you go down to get your coffee from downstairs and all of a sudden it's $2 more expensive next day, you're going to go, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's a big change. There's only so much change we can sort of...
Even if your prices are too
Correct.
low, you can't just...
So that's why it's something you should be looking at sort of every sort of 6 to 12 months, is asking yourself the question, do I need to increase my prices?
Yeah.
And it's based on, where's your gross margin at? What's your competition doing? If you're going to do it, how are you going to do it as well? So there's one, if you've made the decision that you need to increase your prices, how are you going to do it? How are you going to announce it to your patient database?
Yeah.
Do you stage it? Do you potentially do it for new patients only so you don't alienate and irritate the people that are your existing patients? And that way you can kind of test if that model is, you can test whether that price is too much. You can sort of finagle it and tweak it a little bit to find the right number. So you might want to stage it that way. There are people out there that have got multiple injectors within their business. And so sometimes if you're the principal injector, and there are some people in this position who want to get these new patients to go to other people within their team, maybe by increasing your prices as the principal injector or the most experienced person, it's a way of incentivizing people to potentially go to other people within your practice. So it's not just a matter of everyone's putting up their prices, I'm going to put up my prices. It needs to be based on rational logic and actually knowing your financial situation, and then working out how much you're going to do it by and how you're going to execute it.
So more complicated than probably people have anticipated.
Yeah, well, everything should be, I mean, it's just like if you're injecting a patient with a product, you just don't inject it because you feel like it. There's an indication.
Yep.
Is that person suitable for it? How am I going to do it? What technique am I going to use?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Was that 10 years?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
No, it's very relevant. And I think, like you said, people just don't understand why they're doing things sometimes. They just see everyone else doing it. And, I think that people probably on average don't do it enough, but also they don't understand why they're doing it when they do it.
Yeah. That's why, as I said, just to stress it again, you need to know your numbers. You don't need to be an accountant, but you need to be financially competent enough so that you can sit down for an hour once a month, run through your performance for the last month. Accounting software systems now are really sophisticated. So you can even do like comparisons. So you can say, compare the last 3 months with the months prior to that, or this time last year. And when you're looking at it all the time, and you just need a little bit of guidance, so someone like me or your accountant can walk you through how to work these things out, what you're looking at, what these numbers mean.
Yeah.
And then you're just looking at it, and after a while, you just become familiar. It's like anything. Once it becomes second nature to you, just become really sensitive. You'll look at your numbers and go, oh, that's an issue. I need to look at that.
Yeah.
But if you don't look at it, you don't know. And what's happening is a lot of people are just waking up, and all of a sudden there's emergency situations going on because their accountant's saying, hey, you need to increase your prices significantly. And it's like, we should have known it was trending this way 6 months ago, especially in the inflation world. We've sort of hadn't had much inflation before COVID. It was kind of wasn't a major issue, but now it is.
Yeah, I do think that the year sort of snapshot rather than 3 or 4 months is useful because we have weird periods like January, February, and lulls in summer holidays where people are away and
it's seasonal.
It's quite quieter. Exactly. So maybe looking at your 12 months is probably more valuable. I guess.
Or look at the same period the year before.
Yeah.
So, you might go October through December 2024 versus the same period.
Do you think, I was speaking to someone the other day about this, do you think that it's easy to reflect, say, this year to last year? Because last year was still semi-post-COVID, things were a bit crazy, and then this year we've had actual economic pressure. It's just quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you should do both. Look at where it's trending over the last sort of 12 months and then compare periods. You want to look at sort of multiple different analysis, and then you kind of start to figure out where you're at. But in as a general rule, everyone's cost base has gone up, so everyone's prices should have increased. And often people are just fearful to do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't have a strategy behind it.
Yeah.
And then they just do it. And then all of a sudden they get kickback from their patients, and then they kind of panic and they put their prices back down again. And then you just another thing to point out as well is your margin will also depend on what type of business you are.
Yes.
So if you're like a chain clinic, for example, and you're seeing lots and lots of patients, you've got high volumes, then maybe you can get away with a smaller margin because you've got a different model. Whereas if you're like a more boutique, seeing less patients, your prices are higher, then you're relying on more margin because you don't have the same volume of patients coming through. So it's also dependent on what your business model is too.
Yeah, good point. How do you recommend that people, announce this to their patients? Because inevitably you're going to get some eyebrows raised. That's just natural. But what's the best way? What's palatable? And do you justify it? Sometimes it looks a little bit weird to explain why you're doing it, and sometimes it's really nice to be transparent.
So let's talk about Australia because we can't advertise prices anymore.
Yes.
So I think there's some advantages to that.
Yes,
for example.
But but the caveat will be that people will remember, I paid $700 last time and now it's $740. Why?
Yeah. I think I would encourage all businesses to be doing EDMs. So, regular mail emails or email, what are the
announcements or newsletters?
Yeah. Newsletters to their patients / customers. I think that's a nice place to do it. It's sort of not too sort of in their face, but it's there. You've told them. You might want to tell them at their current visit, next visit. But I always like the idea of staging it. So you might just say for new customers, new patients only. And that way you almost let your patients know, hey, my prices are going to increase from March 1 for new patients. But as, loyal patients that are, pre-existing in my business, you've got this period.
6 months or whatever.
Yeah, well, you might give them a grace period, for example. So I just like the idea of staging it.
Yeah.
And you might even have different categories for the patients within your business. So you might have the OGs, the people that have been there with you since day dot, and you might reserve them to be absolutely last. So you might sort of subdivide your database into like 4 or 5 different categories of newbies, people that have been with you for 12 months or less, and you might sort of leave those most loyal people to be the last ones affected, just to sort of show your appreciation for them supporting your business. There's no right or wrong answer, but you need to have a strategy.
Fair enough.
It needs to be thought out. But EDMs are good. I don't like text messages. They're annoying. I feel they're kind of impersonal as well.
Yes.
And you don't have the same kind of capacity to explain things. But the reality is that everyone knows that everything's going up. It's just the cost of doing business these days. Everyone is getting price hikes everywhere.
Yeah, so just on your point of communicating is a good point to discuss. I think texts, if you just look at the data, they're much more likely to be read, maybe not acted on, but read. Mm-hmm. And so if you did a text with, something very simple like announcement from, I don't know, Dr. Jake about our pricing, and then a link to your website,
sure,
then I think people are much more likely to read it. Whereas the EDMs, if you look at the click rate, it's often 20% or less.
Yeah.
And so you'll get a lot of people saying, well, I didn't read that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Even though you did send it. So maybe you can sort of do a hybrid campaign to sort of alert people to your change.
Yeah. And I like the idea of doing video content as well. So people read, but I think it's something very personal about seeing your face on a screen. They know you. It's sort of like almost like you're there explaining it to them, but you might just want to make that announcement in a video format too.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I think we've done that one to death.
Sure.
Anything more to add to that one?
No, I just think get familiar with your numbers, talk to your accountant, talk to your business coach, and then make the decision based on logic and have a strategy.
Yeah, 100%. Now, this is something that I have seen trending out there in the wider world. It's, I'm just going to call it getting back to basics.
Yeah.
And just as a generalization, there are a lot of patients, certainly I meet them, but also just, you see them on TikTok and Instagram and of course Injectors, who are getting a bit confused about everything that we're doing. There's just so much choice, so many new categories of injectables. You've got polynucleotides, exosomes, bioremodelers, biostimulators, as well as fillers and toxins and all the lasers and everything. And I think that people are in danger or sort of encountered things are getting a bit too difficult to advertise, to explain, to educate to everyone. And patients are certainly coming in more confused than ever because the amount of information that they're bombarded with is just crazy now. I mean, I can't stand Instagram anymore because there's just too much there. And there's just too much noise, too much antagonism, people arguing. And I just don't think it's the best way of people getting their information, but that is where they do get their information. Mm-hmm. So I guess the trend that we're going to see in 2025 is a simplification of things.
Yeah.
I think that especially with skincare, I don't mean injectables, but skincare, there are just hundreds of brands, hundreds of products, technologies and marketing spin. And I think that it might be worth clinics and practitioners sort of doubling down on getting simple with things, getting people back to basics. What are you going to do in the morning? What are you going to do at night? Keep it simple, 2 or 3 products, done. Rather than just this constant, there's a new thing out, there's new hyaluronic acid, this one's got this technology. It's just too much.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, skincare has been overly saturated for the last 15 years. I was actually having this discussion with a friend the other day. I don't know how there is room in the market for so many different products and seemingly all of them, well, not all of them, but a large percentage of them continue to make money. I don't understand.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think it shows the power of marketing.
100%.
And the spin and the amount of money that companies inject into campaigns around how they differentiate their product or why their product's different from everything else that's on the market. But I agree. Getting back to the basics. And then when it comes to injectables, it's kind of weird because for so long, for the longest time, we had a very limited range of products at our disposal. And then within like the last 2 or 3 years, it's just kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And it's paralysis by analysis almost.
Yeah.
And
I think it feels very acute here in Australia because traditionally we had quite a small range of things. And, we've just seen more and more brands with their whole portfolios of filler and other things come on the market. And at least this year, we're going to have probably 2 new toxins, if not 3. We've had, a new toxin last year, a new toxin year before that. And again, injectors are sort of, it's paralysis by analysis. They're just told one thing by one company. Then the other company comes along and says, no, that one's rubbish, do this one. And you hear injectors in private conversations say, I just don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
And often it comes down to price rather than the science, which is wrong. I do think that's wrong. Obviously, there's business considerations. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But simplify what you do, understand what's in your cupboard. I think we've had this chat before, but try to educate as best as you can to your patients. It's a bit difficult here in Australia with social media, but explain to them, this is a biostimulator, and ring fence what that does. And then this is what a bioremodeler does, and make them very distinct. This is why I'm choosing this from the cupboard. This is why I'm choosing that, and go through that in their consultation, make it logical, make their treatment plan over the next year. And so, because they're going to be going on Instagram and searching for all this stuff, and they'll hear a different message from a US injector, and they'll hear another one from a Korean injector. So you've got to be clear on what you offer, not what everyone else is offering.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of value in the old saying that you can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a specialist in everything. And as you said, getting back to the basics, doing great talks, knowing your anatomy, what the 80-20 rule, like what 20% of what you do is going to treat 80% of the indications that you see. So good talks, basic good filler in the most popular indicated areas, a good biostimulator, have a basic understanding of, as you said, simple skincare, a device that treats pigmentation, vascular, and maybe something that's, ablative or an RF. And that's probably going to treat 80 to 90% of all the indications that you're going to need within your clinic.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, look, a year or two ago, I decided to very heavily focus on tox. It's the most common thing that I do, and probably most injectors do. If I get that right, and of course, if I price it right and so on, going to be a successful business, and my patients are going to be happy. And, there are days where I'm just doing tox. Now, that might sound boring. I personally love it. I don't think I'll ever get a bit bored of tox. But, if you're doing your basics right, you don't need to worry about the minutiae and the random new things that are coming out, because they're quite niche still.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll grow, who knows? And of course, I do have many other things in the cupboard. Polynucleotides have been big. Profilo's been big, and Sculptra has been big. But they're still a small part of my business compared to tox and facial fillers.
Do you think we'll see a time where hyper or subspecialization will become more mainstream? Because we're seeing it in other medical disciplines. So, orthos just do shoulders, or plastics that just do breasts or faces. Because when you listen to our episode with Michael Caine, for example, and the way he talks about, the nuance of doing tox at such a high level, where you understand all the different ways you can change the shape of someone's face, seeing enough faces so that you know exactly what to do when you see a certain aesthetic in front of you. Do you think that'll happen? And yeah, I'm keen to get your thoughts.
I understand the logic, and the market will grow. Depending on what number you want to choose, there's probably only been a 6 to 8% penetrance of the whole population doing injectables. So there'll be more and more patients eventually. But I don't currently see that happening. I mean, like I said, actually get back to basics. Just do all tox really well, and a bit of filler and a bit of other things. And you can cater to 99% of your patients well. It's very rare that someone only needs, ablative laser and nothing else, or someone only needs polynucleotides and nothing else. So I understand where you're getting at, but I think it would sort of be a little bit too early for where the market is.
Yeah, okay. But eventually, do you think it'll go there? Well, by the time we get there, AI is going to be doing everyone's treatment.
It's funny. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. I think we're going to get to a point. I wonder, or I hope that my hands and my career is sort of future-proofed for at least for the next 5 years. Maybe 10. Of course, there's going to be better analysis of patients' faces, where the AI and the technology say, this is the volume loss, this is what they need, and so on. The planning will be done better by AI, I think. But you'll still need a technician. I don't think patients are ready to have robots do their face.
No, probably not.
And so, I don't think we're going to hyper-specialize yet. But I think at some point, maybe tox and filler will not be the tool we use. Who knows what it will be, whether it's stem cells or something else.
Well, for example, you've got Invisalign. Have you finished yet, or are you still going?
No, I'm still going. I've got such a long story, but I've got to rescan my teeth next week. And essentially the thing that I originally went for hasn't worked. So they're going to have to remake me 18 more trays. It's going to take a whole ton more time. And I'll have to have a few more attachments on my teeth.
So is this something that they've got wrong, or?
They think that my teeth, which are my molars on my left side, are just really heavily rooted in the jawbone. So they're not moving as well as they would like.
I had the same issue. I had 3 supernumerary teeth removed when I was 10 years old.
Right.
So those are like a third set of teeth.
Yeah, interesting.
And they were like rogue mutant teeth that were like intertwining with the roots of my normal teeth.
Molars?
Yeah. And they had to do, it was a 3-hour operation because my bone is so dense. They needed to like hammer and chisel them out of my face.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Anyway, just so we're both freaks. There you go. So my point I was getting at with Invisalign was that I know that I'm not sure. I think they take a photo or they take a scan of your mouth, and then the Invisalign AI software will give the orthodontist like a generic plan, and then the orthodontist then tweaks and fine tune it from there. So maybe that's kind of what will happen with this, is that you'll get a basic plan based on what AI says, and then it'll go back to the human to go, yes, that's great, but let's just do this. Let's tweak that.
It's funny you say that. I actually asked that question, or I had that conversation with my orthodontist, because I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you scan my teeth.
Yes.
And then you obviously get this 3D model on the screen, and it's exact copy of your teeth. And then, he makes adjustments. And I thought, why can't we do this to the face?
Yeah.
Like, there must be the technology already.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe someone listening can invent that. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of sort of orthodontics, I was sort of talking to a friend the other day around like teeth and the way that our jaws develop and the food that we're eating, and the way that orthodontists traditionally, if you've got crowding, they'll just rip the teeth out and close everything down. But then you've got people with narrowed palates and narrowed airways, and it really should have been done from what I was told the other way around, where they should be doing like palate expanders.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how then that sort of will affect someone's aesthetics as well, like the width of their jawline and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
We briefly touched on that in one of our previous What's Trending episodes. We focused on something called mewing.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a chat about that, but I'd love to get someone on to talk about that properly.
There's things like, I think it's called like myofascial therapy and all sorts of things. It's all interconnected, as we've sort of
well, if you think, us injectors talk about bone and the platform of the face all the time, but if the bone isn't right, and that means the teeth as well, then of course the aesthetic on top is also not going to be right. It's just logical. But I think as injectors, we still think, I'll just volumize, or I'll just breathe something.
Well, some people struggle to mew because then palate is so narrow that their tongue can't comfortably sit at the roof of their mouth. So they've had trouble doing it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It is interesting. So
Jason,
I don't know how we got onto Invisalign from simplifying skincare,
this is what we do.
Yeah. Okay, next one, and this is kind of a fun one, was the concept of, are we selling snake oil as injectors? Now, people might have seen Dr. Steve Harris's sort of posts. He's done a couple of them. One was last year, and actually we reached out to Steve to try and do a podcast on this. We couldn't align our calendars. Maybe we'll try and get him back. But I think the premise of his post, which was certainly thought-provoking, was, are some injectors selling things or marketing things either incorrectly or unethically? And that's what he meant by snake oil. And then, more recently over the new year, he did this sort of top 10 of like the sort of treatments that have no evidence, and the top 10 that do have evidence. Did you see those?
I did, yeah.
So, as a concept, what do you think about there's always this issue between marketing and reality, right? And as injectors, I understand that we want to drum up people's interest and get them bums on seats, etc. But I think, especially here in Australia, we're sort of bound by regulation to do that ethically or as well as we can. And there's certain things that we just can't say. Whereas obviously Steve's perspective is he's seeing a lot of stuff in the UK where there's almost no checks and boundaries.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is a more UK-centric problem. But you read some of his posts. What was your take on what he had to say?
Yeah, I like Steve. He's just brutally honest, and I don't think he gives two shits about if he offends somebody. I think he just says it how it is, and some people agree, some people don't. I think this kind of almost ties back to getting back to basics, and we sort of covered getting back to basics with treatment modalities and skincare products, but it also comes down to like marketing.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone's looking for like a new treatment, something that's topical and exciting to sort of hang their hat on and use that as a marketing tool to drive patients and get excitement around what they do. And I think it's around sticking with the, tried and, I think you're always going to need pioneers who are going to try new things. And that's how we move forward as a species, let alone people in this industry. But I think it comes back to understanding who your patients are, what your business model is, what are you really good at, and not relying on these fads and trends to drive new patients through your door. So getting good at the basics, even when it comes to like marketing. I talk to people all the time that say, I don't know what to post on social media, and they just end up posting crap.
Yeah.
It's just posting for the sake of posting. There's no strategy behind it. It's just waffle. It's just like junk food. It doesn't mean anything. It just takes up space, really, and takes people's attention. So I've been talking to people about getting back to, internal referral campaigns, getting involved in their local communities, like whether it's the schools that their kids go to, like business groups that are in your area, like getting out of your comfort zone and talking to people face to face who have businesses that correlate with what you do. So, high-end hair salons, beauticians, day spas, anything where you might have a cross-pollination of patients. So I think it ties back to just doing the basics really well and not relying on fads and trends that haven't yet really proven themselves.
Yeah. For me, I guess it boils down to who are we as medical professionals? Are we, just selling products to get money, or are we trying to sell efficacious stuff that's safe and reliable and has evidence? And, I think we can all understand it's the second option. The problem is that some of the products that we have a limited evidence base. Even for some of the fillers, yes, they're safe and yes, they volumize, but how we use them in real life is often very different to the study. So how often do we do a nasolabial fold with a filler? Rarely. The FDA data will be based on, nasolabial fold got better. Whoopie-doo, it's licensed now. So, there's always a little bit of a gray area in terms of what we actually do in reality versus a study. But then, for other things like exosomes, polynucleotides, they're newer, their evidence base is even lower. And often it's based on just anecdote and someone's experience in their clinic about what they said happened to their handful of cohort of patients. Yeah. And that's okay. That's still valid evidence, but it's a much lower level of evidence. So I understand what Steve was trying to say. And in fact, none of the ones that made his sort of top 10 of, inverted commas, terrible treatments were ones that I do. I don't think they were anyway. Yeah. But it's worth just as an injector reflecting, going, am I just chasing trends and clickbaity stuff? Or am I actually offering efficacious science here? Yeah. And I think you should just self-check yourself every 6 months and sort of try and recognize that.
Well, at the end of the day, your patients want results.
Yeah.
And they're going to trust you with what you say. So I think you have a responsibility to provide treatments that are going to work. They're reliable, they're safe, you've got experience with them. And if you are going to venture out in new areas, I think it's really important to undersell them. This is new. There isn't a huge amount of evidence behind this. This is anecdotally what's been reported. Some of my patients have noticed this. Some have said it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Do you want to give it a try? Do you think, because we've got to try because I guess the counter argument to what Steve's saying is, well, how do we actually then pioneer these things?
Correct. And, taking his stance to the nth degree, was Jean Carruthers selling snake oil 25, 30 years ago when she was the only one doing glabellar Botox? No.
There weren't any studies back then.
There weren't studies. There weren't anything. She was a true pioneer, and look, she developed a whole industry as a result of that. So you don't want to stifle progression and evolution and innovation, but at the same time, I guess the basics are, is this safe? Is this, does this at least in principle make sense? And is there a company with some sort of data, whatever that data is, might not prove full efficacy of what we're trying to do. And with many of these treatments, we notice amazing side benefits that weren't even promised.
Yeah.
For example, I don't know, with Profilo, for example, I noticed some of my patients, their rosacea is getting better, or even their pigmentation's got better, but due to melasma getting better. And yet I didn't promise the patient that. I didn't do it for that, but we learn as we use products. So yeah, I think we've just got to be scientists and not trendsetters when we're offering, medical treatments.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting. Even sort of, and this is not a criticism of Steve at all, but I kind of wonder, like, taking his perspective, is it almost clickbait in itself to be so loud and out there about criticizing everything? Is it actually, is that type of behavior almost the same kind of thing, but for doing it the opposite way?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Not a criticism, Steve, just a question. A question.
Look, I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's got a big presence on Instagram. There's people watching, people reading, and people engaging for sure. And trust me, he ruffles feathers. There are some people who find it too much or they just don't agree, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's sort of the whole purpose of the engagement, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, I guess another trend that I'm noticing is, and we discussed this the other day, is almost the opposite issue, where there are patients and I guess let's call them influencers or experts in other specialties who are criticizing toxins and fillers, saying that they're terrible and maiming people. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm sure there are people out there who have complications, but it seems to be over sensationalized, and that's getting more and more traction.
Yeah. We've had heaps of people just sort of casually sliding into our DMs saying, I got damage from Botox and I want to come and talk about it on the podcast. And I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of like, whether it comes from claims of becoming resistant or getting some major complication from it. I don't know. It's definitely...
I think, this is the issue of social media. It gives you a massive megaphone to say whatever you like without any apparent proof or substance.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Freedom of speech is something that I think we both value. But, if you're going to say something, you've got to back it up with something, right?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I don't know whether you noticed, but I just saw a post today on X that, Dana White, who's the president of the UFC, he sort of comes across as a no bullshit kind of guy.
Right.
He's just joined the board of Meta.
Oh, okay.
And they have announced that they're doing away with their fact checkers and going to go to the same model that X has, which is community notes.
I don't use X to explain that.
So community notes, basically, if someone puts up a post, the community notes is basically an open forum for people to sort of say, this is not true, this is not right. So it's basically a self sort of...
regulatory.
Yeah. So basically people fact checking in real time on claims that people are putting up on Instagram, rather than leaving it to some unnamed third party. It actually becomes people who are using the platform who might have an expertise in an area actually providing context and feedback to certain claims that people are making.
So how does that work in practice? So let's say I do a post on, I don't know, a new product and I disparage it saying it's rubbish. And then some community fact checker says, no, Jake's wrong. Who are these people? We'll
edit this.
And I guess my question whilst you look that up is, surely that's again open to abuse, where you could have bots taking one side of the story saying, no, he's wrong.
Let's have a look here. Purpose. The primary aim of community notes is to create a better informed world by empowering users to provide additional context to potentially misleading content. This feature is intended to offer helpful and informative notes that can clarify, fact check, or provide additional information on what's being shared on the platform. If enough contributors from a diverse viewpoints rate a note as helpful, it becomes visible under the original post. This crowdsourced approach ensures that the information provided is not from a single perspective, but has been vetted by a community with varied viewpoints. Community Notes does not represent X's viewpoint and is immune to editing or modification by X's teams, ensuring the integrity of the notes remain within the community.
So how does that differ from, just anyone commenting under one of Steve's posts and having their own say about, no, that's true, or no, that's not true? Like, I don't understand the point.
Well, I guess this sort of takes all those sort of viewpoints, and then if enough people sort of say a certain thing, then that's the community. Basically,
gives it more weight.
It gives it more weight, and it's sort of been collated in a way that's unable to be messed with. Apparently, it's working quite well.
So as long as it's not hackable or bottable, it sounds reasonable.
Well, it's a constant battle, isn't it, between the dark and white forces, the white and black forces of sort of what's going on online with bots and so on. But I think it's an interesting. It must be working for Meta then to be looking to take it up. It must be. They must think it's going to be valuable to improving the, I guess, reliability of posts that are put up.
Yeah. For our listeners who think we might be getting off track here, there was actually something else I wanted to mention, and it's something that we as a podcast, I don't know if we have an answer to this, but I saw some criticism of the Die of a CEO podcast by the BBC.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that he was putting out misinformation about health benefits and supplements and nutrition, etc., because of what his guest was saying.
Yeah.
Now, obviously on a podcast, and we include ourselves in this, what we say isn't health information. It's not something that you should action. It's just, I guess, entertainment and general information that you should think about and then go away and do your own research.
Yeah,
but
it's just one data point.
Yeah. And I guess that applies for social media. Don't take it as gospel. Go away, do your research, think about it, speak to colleagues, maybe use that product in your own practice and, see if it works. Don't just believe what someone says.
Well, also, facts are changing all the time.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, what people think are facts are mostly beliefs, really.
Yeah.
Because what we know today will be disproven in the future. And so, I mean, it should always be treated with skepticism and an open mind to being able to advance your perspective on something, or be willing to say, I'm not emotionally attached to this idea. I'm happy to see new evidence and change my mind. I think people get sort of emotionally attached to an idea, and then that's the hill they want to die on because their ego won't allow them to admit that they were wrong.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Here's something we were talking about, and this isn't to call out any particular Instagram injector, but let's say there are some big personalities out there, and some of their posts get thousands of likes and really good engagement, but there's a danger that they become almost fonts of knowledge themselves, which isn't necessarily true.
Become what?
Fonts of knowledge.
No, I haven't heard that phrase. Okay.
So if Dr. Subio, let's just use Subio, he's got a big presence and people follow and like what he says. And if he takes a stance on anything, whether it's a product, a technique, there'll be many people who just take that as gospel. Oh, Subio said this, therefore I'm going to go and do that. And, this isn't against Subio at all. I think he's a good guy and I like his education, but go away and do your own research. Go away and try other products, and just don't take one person's opinion as gospel.
Just because they've got lots of followers and
exactly,
or what they put up funny. Yeah.
I mean, again, this is knocking Subio, but Subio doesn't like the concept of a KOL. He doesn't like paid speakers and so on. I get his argument, but he, in a way, or other people who are big on Instagram have kind of become pseudo KOLs on Instagram. They are a large mouthpiece who can actually leverage a far wider audience and influence more people. And there's a risk to that as well.
It is. And then you risk something like audience capture.
Yeah.
Which is you get positive feedback from your audience around a certain topic or viewpoint that you have. And then you continue to do more of that because your audience likes it. And then you sort of start going down this pathway where you almost lose the capacity to be objective because you're worried about alienating the people that like what you do now.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
And that sort of critique goes for me and you. What we say is not gospel.
No.
And certainly what I put on Instagram isn't gospel. It's, some of it is to sort of rile up debate. Some of it is just, it is clickbaity in a way. So just take what is out there with a pinch of salt and think before you do.
As you said, multiple data points.
Yeah. Another trend that I've noticed recently, I mean, it's not a new trend, but I'm certainly seeing it more, is the whole injector sort of critiquing celebrities and what have they done and what haven't they done.
It's not new though, is it?
It's not new, but it seems to sort of be retrending or becoming more popular. I don't know why. I mean, look, it's easy content. There's always celebrities who've done something. And if you want to talk about it, awesome. People are going to have their say, and it gets good engagement. So I understand why they do it. But what are your thoughts on the tackiness of it, the salaciousness?
Well,
say the word salaciousness.
Salaciousness. Before I answer that question, I find it funny that these celebrities who would have infinite money and the capacity to have anyone treat them somehow manage to get bad work done, that it becomes obvious. I don't understand how this works. You'd think that because you shouldn't be able to notice good work, really.
Yeah, look, that's a whole different topic. Yes. I mean, look, sometimes complications happen. Sometimes, and maybe this is a more US-centric thing, there are a lot of plastic surgeons offering injectables who maybe don't do much injecting. Maybe they should stick to surgery, and maybe that celebrity should see an injector, not a plastic surgeon. Yeah. There are many reasons. And some celebrities maybe push the boat too far and insist on things and hop around and just keep on asking until they get what they thought was good and ends up looking bad, like Michael Jackson. Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, sure.
But in terms of just the premise of critiquing someone's face, I don't know.
It's harsh, isn't it?
It's weird with me.
I think it's harsh, but I guess if you put yourself out there, then I guess it's you put the
fact is, people are interested whether I like it or not. People are interested.
Well, if you're somebody that people know, you're always going to be the subject of gossip and discussion. So I understand why it's interesting. I don't know. I think it's just clickbaity, to be honest with you. I don't think that there's much value in it other than just a bit of gossip and junk food for your brain.
Yeah, I mean, the public seem to really enjoy, getting a plastic surgeon on to go, what have they done? And then it's highly speculative. They don't know unless obviously they know the patient, in case that would be a breach of their confidentiality.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the pure speculation. Some of it might be utter bullshit.
Yeah.
And it may actually be a self-marketing thing to say, oh, hey, I think they've done, I don't know, PRP. Come to me and get PRP. It could be as what's the word? It could be a marketing exercise, really.
Yeah. Oh, I think any form of that probably is. To be honest with you, you're sort of positioning yourself as an expert.
Yes.
And therefore you know what this person has had done. So people should come to you because you're the holder of all the knowledge.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never bought into celebrity culture. I've never cared. There's many people who are spoken about and have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just the odd one out, but I just don't care.
I think it's, again, getting back to people's desperation for attention, really. I think everyone's trying to capture attention from someone because we're so overly stimulated with social media and Netflix and, you know, you name it. There's like multiple, and, you know, someone like me with ADHD brain, it's a minefield.
And I guess the other angle that is a negative about is that patients watch this stuff, read this stuff, come in and go, I want what she had. Again, it's sort of getting away from the bespoke nature of having a personalized consultation and this is your face, not her face, and so on. It sort of ramps up the expectation again.
Well, this kind of behavior, I think, takes away the seriousness of our industry and what we do. So we're actually creating the issue for ourselves by sensationalizing this and making it clickbaity.
Yes.
You don't see a cardiothoracic surgeon or your neurosurgeon saying, what? You don't see that sort of behavior from other medical areas. And if we want to consider ourselves a serious medical profession, then maybe we need to think about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an odd thing because it's so aligned with being visual and easily marketed and pleasing and beautiful and all the rest of it. So maybe we just are a natural outlier just because of what we do. I don't know. I mean, the other thing that I've also seen seemingly more and more of is other injectors kind of critiquing other injectors' work and in a way shaming them. It really sits badly with me.
You see this on Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The main reason I don't like it is presumably that injector shaming or critiquing the other injector's work doesn't have the consent of the patient, and they're using the pictures. So forget the critique and the fact that the work might be bad.
Hold on a second. So if someone's put something out in the public sphere, arguably that initial doctor, nurse, whatever, has got consent
from their patient for that injector to use it, but not for someone else to then copy and paste it on another profile and rip their face to shreds.
I wonder what the law is once something's already in the public domain. I don't know.
I mean, it would be very hard to control for sure. And again, I don't know the laws of each country, but when my patient signs a consent form, I mean, seizure in Australia because we can't do it anymore, but they give me consent to use their face, not Dr. So-and-so in England critiquing my work.
That's interesting.
I mean, whether the law supports it or is against it, the point is that poor patient is being critiqued by thousands of people. You can imagine how they'd feel if they came across that and they were like, this nose is terrible. They look like a pig. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah. It is.
And they might like their nose and they didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
It's not, I just don't think it's someone else's business to name and shame in the public domain.
Yeah.
I think you can go to a conference and discuss with 100 colleagues or however many is in the crowd, hey, here's an example of something, it's not my taste, and this is why, and go through it in a very professional way.
It's education,
Yeah, but to just rip someone to shreds on your Instagram to get some likes and follows, I think it's just a bit, I don't know, it doesn't sit with me right.
Yeah, maybe you'll have less patients consenting to people using their photos if that's the...
Again, people love it. It drives the drama and the debate and the likes and the follows, and I get why they're doing it. I just don't, I don't know. We're doctors.
What's wrong with us, Jake?
It's like a public flogging. It is. It's just, I don't know. It's not very nice. Now, you wanted to talk about something that we have touched on, but it seems to be trending again. It's we're going to call it Ozempic face, just that's because it's, that's the sort of simple name, but there are many other products similar to Ozempic that do the same thing.
Let's just say any form of rapid weight loss.
Yeah.
But it's been sort of recently remarketed as Ozempic face because that's the miracle drug and that people are taking to lose lots of weight really quickly. So I didn't want to spend too much time on this, just basically that I've had a few of my patients both here and abroad who've had
Patients?
Sorry, let me say that again. I've had clients who have patients both here and abroad that have made claims that the treatment they have done has destroyed their face.
Right, okay.
Because
they've lost lots of weight.
Because they've lost lots of weight. So, for example, a patient may have come in for, say, like a filler treatment or a RF microneedling treatment. And during the time they've had treatment to the time they come back for photos, they've also lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
And now the patient's blaming the practitioner for their loose skin or their face drooping off their skull because they've lost all this weight. And then it's sort of like, even if you're not in the wrong, a lot of the time, if someone makes a claim, your insurance company will go, oh,
it's just too difficult.
It's just difficult, pay them out. Your premium goes up. And you've sort of just got this nightmare where it's always going to be your word versus the patient's word. And how do you actually prove that it was the weight loss and not your treatment? Then it just becomes really complicated. So long and the short of that is, I think that people need to be aware now this is a really common drug that people are taking to lose weight, and that they are going to potentially have significant changes to the way that they look because of the fat loss in their face, depending on their age and, their bone structure and everything else. So I think it probably should be added to your consent form. Are you currently I know people list medications, but I think people might not see this as a serious, patients maybe don't understand the seriousness of these types of drugs. Like I know, for example, you'll ask the patients, are you breastfeeding or are you pregnant or trying to get pregnant? You ask that even though it's on the consent form. So I think just adding it to your consent form and actually asking your patients and then making a decision whether or not you actually want to embark on a treatment journey with that patient whilst they're in the process of losing massive amounts of weight, or maybe you put extra disclaimers in there. It's just something to be aware of, that it's a phenomenon that could end up in a situation where you're having claims made against you because the patient blames you for the way that they now look, because it can be quite confronting.
So why on the consent form? I mean, I understand in the medical history, you want to specifically ask, have you lost a lot of weight recently? How did you do it? How much did you lose? And what have you noticed in your face and so on? But on the consent form, what specifically are you saying to add?
Well, again, I'm not giving legal advice, so I think this should be something that you discuss with your insurer or your lawyer. But I think that if someone is taking Ozempic and you are going to do treatment, maybe the advice that you would get is that you put on the consent form, I acknowledge that I'm going through rapid weight loss, that I might have changes in my face, and
further treatment necessary.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And so, I don't know. I just think it's something that's sort of just crept up on us, and I can see it becoming an issue.
Yeah.
Just to sort of think about how you protect yourself. So whether it's adding something to the consent form or deciding not to treat patients that are on that journey and only treating them when they're finished.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm just saying I can see it. I've already seen a few instances of it being problematic, and I think people need to just think about it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, from an injector's perspective, I think definitely hone down on your medical history to capture that detail every time. If you're not asking, then add it to medical history.
Yeah.
And then the conversation will be, as you said, your face is going to change between now and 6 months. Therefore, do we do nothing?
Yeah.
Or do we focus on things that aren't related to facial shape and volume, like tox and maybe skin quality? Or do we embark on a sort of a journey on, say, a biostimulator to try and counteract the effect of what's likely to happen to make that change less likely?
Yeah.
But you have to have that conversation.
Of course.
It's just logical.
Yeah.
I mean, forget Ozempic. If you're going to go for weight loss surgery, or you're just going to embark on calorie deficit for 6 months, like your body shape and your face is going to change. So it's kind of logical. But as you say, now these drugs are more popular, more common, and it's easier for people to do. It's an injection once a week. It will be something that maybe injectors encounter more.
Yeah, that's all. Because whenever I look at these things, I always got my sort of business hat on and go, how do I mitigate the potential risk here? Because I can see where it's going.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've already seen a few examples of patients getting stuck in. And as I said, insurance companies often will just go, oh, this is going to cost us too much money to defend. How much does the patient want? 20 grand. Okay, let's just pay them and get them to sign a deed of release and move on. But then that affects your premium.
Yeah. I think we probably should do a topic on weight loss medicine.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because we're focused on weight loss, but there are side impacts, just like we've discussed. And I think it'd be interesting to find out from an injector who does this regularly. It's very common in the States that they do aesthetics and weight loss, just to see how they juggle that better.
Yeah, sure.
Formalize it. Cool. Now, you added another bullet point to our list of topics.
Yeah, so this will be the final one. We'll sort of finish on this, which is the trend. And it's not a recent trend as in like just in the last few months. It's been over the last few years, particularly here in Australia with a lot of the telehealth scripting companies that have allowed people to go and start their own businesses, particularly nurses who've gone out and started their own practices rather than working under direct supervision of a doctor or in a chain clinic.
So just qualify over that for our non-Australian listeners. What is a scripting company?
So in Australia, nurses can provide cosmetic medical treatments to patients. Mm-hmm. I know that in some parts of the world, like say South Africa, for example, and certain parts of the Middle East, they can't. It's doctors only.
Yes.
But here we can. And in the States, it's the same as well. So, but for a nurse to perform that treatment, they need to get authority to treat from a doctor. So the doctor will appear on a screen via a telehealth call. They'll do a consult with the patient, or they'll essentially talk to the nurse, get the treatment plan, talk to the patient, ask some questions around medical history, and if they understand the treatment, and the doctor will then give the permission for the nurse to then provide that treatment.
Yes.
So that's allowed people to independently go and open up their own practices, which is great.
Yeah.
But in terms of trends, it's created like this inertia of everyone wants to be a business owner.
Yes.
And we've seen lots of people just go and open up their own practices. And I think that's great. I'm like a massive admirer and supporter of people that have the entrepreneurial spirit that want to go and open up their own practice. However, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yep.
And not everyone is equipped or has the skill set or the temperament or the time to be business owners, because it's hard. Being a business owner is really, really difficult.
Yep.
And we've been, again, as I've said so many times on the podcast, we've had really favorable economic and industry conditions for people in this space to go and up their own practices, and that's kind of changing now. So I think the trend was everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and I think that people just need to think about understanding what's involved in being a business owner, how much time is this going to take, what's the risk, and then sort of line it up with, well, what are my goals? Why am I doing this? Is it to make a certain amount of money? Is it just I want to tick that box off as I've achieved being a business owner in my life, and that's something that's really important to me? Does it align with your career goals as an aesthetic practitioner? And I think I would just encourage people to not just follow the trend because they're seeing everyone on Instagram open up their own business, is to just go back to like first principles thinking, like, why are you in this industry? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve financially for you and your family potentially? And do I need to be a business owner to do that? Because you can earn great money being an employee without all the headaches and nightmares and risks of being a business owner. So I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm just saying don't just follow the trend and think about it and do your due diligence and just work out, is there an easier path to victory? So for example, if I was a nurse in this industry in Australia right now, I would not open my own business. Because I think there are easier ways. I think I could see a path because at the end of the day, I've always seen jobs as a path to get me to where I want to get to in life. I want to earn X amount of dollars, or I want to be able to have this amount of financial freedom, or be able to do X, Y, and Z. So I just think we're in a space now where I know that if I'm a great injector and I've got a good, loyal patient database, I would much prefer to go and slot into someone else's practice like you have, and earn great money doing that without all the nightmares of being a business owner and risk and so on. So I just think it's just worth taking a step back and just reassessing your goals, really getting an understanding of what you're potentially letting yourself or getting yourself into. And just sort of I reviewed some stats this morning and just had a look at what are the rates of failures for new businesses. So
this is all businesses, not just aesthetic.
All businesses, yeah. So to sort of global context, across most developed economies, including Australia, approximately 20% of businesses fail within the first year. And this figure increases to around 50% by the 5-year mark. So, I mean, I think there was a lot of discussions around 90% of businesses fail in the first year. I think that's a bit of a misnomer, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, so this is me self-correcting. So I went and looked at the data today.
Where was that data from?
It's just what this was. Yeah. This is from ChatGPT.
Okay, right.
So I just think it's worth looking at the figures and just working out where do you want to get to, and do you have to go down that path to get there?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, so in your chats with, you speak to a lot of businesses, obviously. Do you think that those injectors who started their clinics, were they naive, or did they actually want to be a business owner? Like, there's probably a mix, but are you saying that essentially most people just don't realize how complex it really is?
Yeah, they haven't realized how complex it is, and they've managed to be successful in spite of not having a lot of business skills because we've had such favorable conditions.
Yeah.
That, everything goes in cycles. And so it's getting harder now. And that's why people are having sort of these moments of realization going, holy shit, what have I got myself into? This is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I think that there was a time where businesses that started, say, 5, 10, 15 years ago, even if they didn't have all those business skills, they were really successful. And now they've gotten to a point that even though maybe they don't have all the business skills, they're starting to catch up now and sort of bring their knowledge base where it needs to be. They built that database of patients and that really successful business when it was much different conditions. And they're still going to continue to be successful. But to start like today with a new business in this space, I would think twice about it because you've got all the advertising restrictions. There's far more competition. It's harder to get cut through on social media. It's becoming commoditized. And this is why we're seeing, and this kind of links back to all the desperation we're seeing on social media, all the clickbaity kind of stuff, and everyone just posting, trying desperately to get new attention, advertising new treatments. Hey, I'm the first person doing this because they're trying to get patients in their door.
Yeah.
And it feeds back into too many people sort of just following the trend of being business owners when they don't have the skills yet, they don't have the experience, and they don't have maybe the time or the personality type that's going to allow them to do that.
Yeah. And the other thing looming, we don't know, I'm just speculating, is that if the regulations get further developed and further restricted, it may not be possible to work on your own. It just may not be. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think there are so many established businesses that are desperate for great practitioners, whether they be skin therapists or nurses or even doctors. This is what I struggle with this all the time. How do I find good people and retain them? I was losing people all the time that wanted to go and start their own thing. And I think now you can negotiate great terms for yourself. So you might even be able to find yourself in a position where the business that you're working in might offer you equity, or they might offer you a profit share. And all of a sudden you're earning like a percentage of what the business is taking without having to have like taken any of the risk.
Yeah.
And you're still getting all the upside with none of the downside.
Yeah. And of course it means, that clinic might already have devices and a skin therapist. You don't have to worry about being a jack of all trades.
Yeah. And they've gone through that initial like danger period of the first, 2 to 3 years of business. They're established now.
Yeah.
And you're sort of hopping on that train once it's already got momentum and left the station.
Yeah.
And you can still earn the same amount of money, if not more, without any of the headaches.
Have you, or do you know mentees of yours in that position? Have they joined other clinics?
Yeah, I've helped people find roles within. So I've had clients that have got businesses, successful businesses that are looking for injectors, and I've had clients who have their own businesses or thinking about having their own businesses. So I've gone, hey, you should talk to this person. Let me find out whether I can sort of, do a bit of a matchmaking here and put you guys together. And that's worked a few times.
Yeah.
So I think that I would encourage people just to think laterally about it and sort of just go back to, why you did this and what are your goals.
Okay. Now, just to end, I want to get your thoughts on last year was a little bit tricky economically. Where are we at with inflation and interest rates? And what's your prediction for the next 12 months?
God, predicting anything in this world.
We're going to play this back in 12 months.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it's hard to predict anything. I mean, I still think we've got more tough times to come.
Yeah,
for sure. I think that I think there's going to be a crash. I just don't know when it's going to happen.
I mean, a global crash or
probably
Australian specific?
No, probably global. The whole world's linked now. It's hard for, America gets a cold and we get influenza. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much chaos going on around everywhere at the moment. And I think everything's just kind of being held together. But I don't think it'll take too many things to go wrong for us to have a major situation unfold. So I don't want to be doom and gloom. I think it's always good to be positive and to be upbeat and sort of think about things from, optimistic half glass, half full type of perspective. But I just think the take-home message is just be cautious. Don't take unnecessary risks.
Yeah.
You got to live your life. You can't always live your life in fear thinking this is going to happen or therefore I won't do that. It's just think about things, have a backup plan.
Yeah.
If you're going to take a risk, think about what's the worst possible. So for example, if you're going to if you've listened to all of this and you've gone, shut up, David, you're an idiot. I'm going to start my business. You don't know what you're talking about. Fine. That's okay. But think about what the worst case scenario is. If this fails, what do I do?
Yeah.
What's my worst case scenario? So think about the worst possible outcome and have a plan in place if that eventuates, so that you're not like panicking and making bad decisions when you're like freaked out.
Yeah.
Because that's when you make bad decisions, when you're panicked.
And make sure your business structure protects you from from personal assets being taken away.
Yeah. We spoke again, going back to our Patreon content. I just put a video up yesterday, which was talking about commercial leases, and something that's in a lot of, almost all these leases is the personal guarantee. So you never want to sign one of those, even for like suppliers of like product. Sometimes they'll get you to try and sign personal guarantees. Just don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed chapter 8 of What's Trending in Aesthetics. Like I say, these ones kind of go off on tangents, but I think it's nice to just talk a little bit more broadly and generally sometimes.
Yes.
If you do listen and you think, hold on, I want to come on and talk about something that I've seen trending, you think you'd be a good guest, hit us up. Our Instagram link is down below. Just shoot us a DM on Instagram, and we're happy to listen to your ideas.
Yes.
Sometimes David and I don't have to do all the talking. We can get someone more expert or more.
I love doing the listening.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
See you soon.
For our latest news, follow us on Instagram at Inside Aesthetics Podcast. If you want to get in touch with myself or David, follow us on Instagram as well at Dr. Jake Sloane and David_Inside Aesthetics.
Join our Patreon for invaluable business and injectable education. Get access to our global community of like-minded professionals, live and interactive Zoom sessions, hints and tip videos, webinars, and more. Head over to www.insideaesthetics.com/Patreon for more information.